start the recording. Okay, cool. Full screen. So see, interface is one of the type of a class, right? It contains only abstract method. But right
Okay.
now this statement does not stand true. Post the Java 8, right? Before Java 7
Okay.
it was different statement, but post Java 8 it's a different thing. So this note is based on the previous and before and 8 Java version, but right now we are on the pivot version of Java is 17. Nobody is using 8 as well, so there is no chance of someone using 7. So those interview question is not required right now. So now interfaces can have different methods. We will see how it can have other methods than the abstract methods, right? But the thing is, by default it has abstract method. Cool. And the interfaces are not the alternative for abstract class. This is the most important thing that one should know. It is the
Yes.
extension for the abstract classes. What it means, we're going to dive deep into that in a while. Other thing is the interface allow you to declare only abstract methods, and these methods are by default. This thing is important. But all the methods by default, all the methods in an interface are by default public and abstract. Right. Okay. See what? Okay. Why when one thing, most important thing that I think we haven't covered or covered in the last session, I don't know. So if I declared in a class A, if I declared a variable uh, public public abstract class A, and there is a method void m1, right? Let me write it down. So okay, in basic, right? Okay, right, this is a class A, and if I write public abstract and then void and then m1, right? And if I okay, I cannot provide the implementation. Cool. So let's remove this. And if I declare this abstract, then the class should be also abstract, right? Abstract method is non-abstract class, so I need to make the class abstract also. Cool. Now without implementation it is working, right? And last time we have seen that we can have any number of abstract methods or concrete methods in a class. Like this is the concrete method, right? A hyphen m2. So right now I have one concrete abstract class, and then when I have one
Class.
yes
Concrete
abstract class,
method.
sorry, abstract method and concrete method in abstract class, right? But one thing we have also seen that we don't need any abstract method in a abstract class. Without abstract method also we can declare a class abstract. And why we will do this? Because if our implementation is not complete, or in some cases this we want to make this class as a parent class, right? We will say in the design how can we use it in a while. So now if I have created one method public abstract, right? So I will not come again over here, and I mean there could be a one way that I will come over here and I will change this method and provide implementation, right? But usually in low level designing we don't do this thing. In low level designing what we will do, because this is a abstract class, right? But it is a class, so I can extend this class, right? I can extend this class A, and now what will happen, it will start throwing error. Why? Because from A it inherited a public abstract method, right? So if this class wants to be a concrete class instead of an abstract class, it needs to override the method. See over here, if I hover, class B must either be declared as abstract or implement the method m1 in A. So if I go over here and implement the method, now there is no error, right? So when we declare a method abstract, then it means that we want to make sure that the child classes provide the implementation of them. All right. And what do we
Okay.
mean by this? Like we will see an example in later while. Let's suppose there is a payment class, right? Then payment class will have some methods, right? For example, the payment class will have, okay, let me just, okay, we have a payment class, and then payment class will be, I mean payment class will require to do the payments, right? So it will have some method, which will work with database and save the table records, right? And its child can be, and the payment and its child can be net banking payment, right? And the
Yes.
credit card payment, right? Then debit card payment, then there can be, and then UPI payment, there can be multiple child classes, right? So it can have concrete methods, save payment, right? It can have concrete methods, let me just like save payment, right? But do payment method will be abstract. And why? Because all the modes of payment have different way to complete the payment, right? So net banking will require you to log in the website. UPI will require you to enter the PIN, and debit credit card requires you to add the card details and then enter the OTP and the other things, right? So these things enter CVV and all those details. So the way to implement these things are different. But all these things will require some common methods, right? So the common methods I will put in the parent, right? And then the how to complete the payment, I will leave that as an abstract. I don't know how to do the payments. I know how to save the data regarding the payment, but I don't know how to do the payments. So what I'll do, I'll make sure that this net banking payment and DB payment, these classes, these should be the concrete classes, right? So what will happen? These will be concrete classes, and payment will be. It can either be an abstract class, or interface. We will see in a while. And why? Because these two items, abstract class and interface, can have a method declaration without an implementation, that is abstract methods. And we declare the abstract method just to make sure that the child classes will implement those methods, right? So that's why in reality we use this abstract keyword and abstract class and abstract methods, because we want those methods to be overridden by concrete classes or the child classes, right?
Yes.
So that's why we write these things. That's why we
Okay.
use those methods. Cool. Let's move back to our interfaces. Okay, my bad. See, and now see by default, I mean now we know that why we write a method abstract, because we are not going to provide.
A concrete method for it.
Yes, we are not going to provide the implementation of a particular method or a particular function or a particular business logic in our system. So we are going to delegate the responsibility to the child classes, right? And if that child classes wants to be a concrete class, then it must provide the implementation of that particular method. Otherwise, we are forced to declare that class also as abstract, and then that class cannot be instantiated, hence cannot be used. Right? Making sense?
Yes.
Okay, so now see, interface is the best example for that. Why? Because the thing is, with the interface, by default every method are abstract and public. And now as we have completed the access modifier, why do we need to make this methods in interface public, and that too abstract method? Why?
Um, because it's like letting other people to write the implementation for that method.
See, what will access modifier do? If I write it as a private, right, then making a private with abstract keyword won't make sense. Like if I try to make this, okay, it has this. If I try to
Yes.
make this private, then it won't make sense. See, Java will also say that illegal combination of modifiers. And why the reason? Because if it will be not visible by others, then how they will be able to provide implementation for them, right? So we are creating a method abstract just to make sure that the child classes provide the implementation. If you hide its visibility from the child class, then the entire concept for this becomes nullified, right? So that's why we cannot make it private, right? What if I make it default? Default abstract methods are allowed, but then what we have done, we have made sure that that particular method can be that, but now this particular class can be extended only by the classes which are inside the same package, right? Outside the basic package, no one is going to access the this class A won't be visible to any other class other than the basic package.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is the other thing. And the other thing is, if I make it protected, then it will be visible, but to the child classes only, right?
Hmm.
Okay, protected. But now the thing is, again with this also, it is not like any person can come and override it, right? And the
Yes.
and the worst part is, if I go outside the class, this will be like test. I will delete it in a while. Okay, inside random I created test, cool, no issues. So in test, if I try to extend a, okay, and okay, cool, any runner I need to find in it, but I to run it. See, there is no issue, right, with
Hmm.
test a. But the thing is, I have created, because I have created it as a protected, right?
Hmm.
But if there is a some class, because I have extended it, then it's fine, because I will be able to see it and I will be able to override it. But
Hmm.
without the child classes, it again, it won't make sense for this class, right? Because we cannot instantiate and we cannot access without child
Hmm.
classes.
Hmm. Yes.
The public is the best keyword. We use protected as well with it, right? So
Hmm.
protected and public, these two are the most used access modifiers used with the abstract keyword, right? But
Hmm.
illegal is only private, because if we are not going to show it to anyone else outside the class, so no one will be able to override it, right? If no one
Yes,
is
sir.
able to override it, then our entire concept or entire requirement becomes nullified. Cool.
Hmm.
So
Yes, sir.
if we go to the interface right now, right? Okay, wait. If we go to the interface part, and okay, let's create a package. Oh, my bad. Let's create a package basic. Okay, and inside that, see, interface is usually the nomenclature is I, right? I should be at the front to denominate it is an interface, right? So the first thing that we should know, that interface, to write interface, we don't write a class, right? For abstract class, we just add a keyword abstract before the class, right?
Hmm.
But we
Hmm.
don't do that with the interface. It's not like public interface class I, right? It's public
Hmm.
interface IA. I represents interface and A represent normal class. It's not like you cannot write public interface here as well, right? You can write this in this way as also, but it's a nomenclature that we put capital I before the interfaces, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
if I write public abstract void m1, right?
Hmm.
Now the one thing with the abstract keyword is, earlier interface were used to make sure that all the methods in the interface will be only abstract methods, right? That's why
Hmm.
you will see this thing is grayed out, right? Whether I
Hmm.
write public abstract or not write public abstract, it won't make sense.
Hmm.
Compiler will add public abstract outside it, right? Public
Okay. Hmm.
abstract, right? And again, one thing that we have seen, and if one will add public and abstract, right? So if I try to add some other, we have seen that there are legal modifiers, right? With
Hmm.
abstract keyword, like we can use this abstract keyword, we can use abstract with protected and default, right?
Hmm.
So if I use protected over here, will it throw error or not?
Yeah, it thrown an error
Why?
because abstract keyword because we have given public interface IN. So in that we have given method.
See, we have seen one thing, that protected is legal, right? Protected is completely legal with the abstract. Over here,
Hmm.
I can make this protected, right?
Hmm.
Protected, right? It is completely legal, right? There is no issue.
Hmm.
If I copy paste it and put it in IA, let's remove this and let me put this.
Hmm.
This was working, right?
Hmm.
In the abstract class. Will it will it work over here, or it will it will give an error?
It will give an error actually.
Why? You know the answer.
Yeah, but so here interface it means itself it's like protected only. I mean
What do you want to convey with it's protected only?
That interface itself means um, set of abstract methods. All will be abstract methods only.
No, no, no.
So I,
Post Java 7, it's not this case. Earlier,
yeah.
it used to be that interface we will create only abstract methods. Post
Hmm.
Java 8, this thing changed. Now we can write no concrete method as well. There are some criteria which we need to follow, which we will see in
Okay.
a while. But we cannot write everything, right? It is not
Hmm.
allowed. We'll see those
Hmm.
things that are allowed, right?
Okay.
See, the thing is, it's not like it is protected or something. We have seen. I mean, what I have said in before, that if I write public void m1, right?
Hmm.
If I write public void m1 and this thing I do, then it is equivalent to, okay, let me just copy paste it, and it is equivalent to public abstract void m1, right?
Hmm. Yes, sir.
Above and below are same, right? And it is
Hmm.
not throwing some error, right? But
Hmm.
if I remove this, then it will throw an error.
Hmm.
And why it will throw an error? See,
Because we are
protected,
overriding.
we are not, okay, right now we are not overriding. The reason is because public is already there, right? Public
Hmm.
is already there, and
Hmm.
we have written protected as well. How
Hmm.
can a single method have two access modifiers,
Hmm.
right? So it is not
Yes.
allowed. Why it is not allowed? I mean, if we committed out this thing and we try to do this thing, then it will show modifier is not allowed here, right?
Hmm.
But why it's not allowed? I mean, we have already one, right? How can you put another one?
Yes, sir.
So I
Hmm.
mean, this thing you can detect, right? I mean, we have just covered
Hmm.
it. Those
Hmm.
detection skills we need to develop. Otherwise, everything we cannot rote learn, right?
Hmm.
Cool. So we know that, okay, by default it will be public abstract. This is the most important item, right? Where
Hmm.
is the most thing? So interface. Two things in interface are most important, and one everyone should know. One thing is interface default defaults and method. Default method would be public and abstract, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then variable. Default variable will be public, static, and final.
Hmm.
See, these thing is very important. These two items, right?
Hmm.
So we have seen that all the methods will be public and abstract, default, right?
Hmm.
And all the variables will be public and final, right? Let's again go to our interface, and if I write this integer or string company name, company name,
Hmm.
right? Company name. So let's say Google, right? So whether I write this or I write public, static, and final. See again, this thing is grayed out, right?
Hmm.
So both things will be same.
Hmm.
Will be added by compiler if not written. Cool. So we don't write this thing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And this thing public abstract, also public abstract will be provided by compiler if not written, right? Cool. Now one thing we cannot have, so if we know that every variables will have public static final, right? So
Hmm.
that means I cannot have a normal variable, right? I cannot have an instance variable in an
Hmm.
interface, right? So
Yes.
it's a deductible item. No, I mean, you will not find this anywhere written, because how would you write a instance variable, right?
Hmm.
You will try to write it as a string and age instead of age, string and name, right? This is how you will
Hmm.
try to write it, right?
Hmm.
And you will write something like test and this thing, but you will see that, okay, this is an instance variable, but what will happen? Compiler will put this thing over here, right?
Hmm.
That's why we need to declare it first, because this is the final keyword over here, right? So
Hmm.
what final keyword requires? You need to initialize it, and if you are now initializing a final keyword, then you need to provide constructors.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you won't be able to provide the value. And in interfaces, there is no way to write a constructor because objects or interfaces are not allowed. Alright. And if
Yes.
anywhere you will find an abstract method or abstract keyword, that thing cannot be instantiated, right? So if this thing cannot be instantiated and final keyword only provides you. So the one thing we know that we can declare variables in interface, we can declare the methods in an interface, right? And we cannot create a constructor in an interface. Why? Because object creation is not allowed. If object creation is not allowed, what will you do with a constructor, right?
Yes.
So will the blocks allowed, right? This thing not allowed, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
will static block allowed,
No.
right? So only thing we can write in a constructor is methods and variables, right? So the interface is a class only, but with constraints. We can only use two class elements over here. One is variable, and variable. Can you tell me which variable is this?
Static variable.
When we make a variable public, static, and final, what it becomes?
Static. Final means we cannot change the variable at all,
Yes.
and it will be used in static blocks only because it's a static variable.
Static from static. We can access static context area from instance context area, right? So
Yes.
it can be accessible from anywhere, everywhere.
Hmm. Hmm.
Static is like O plus. Everyone can use it. It cannot use everything, but everything can use it.
Hmm.
So instance area can also access the static context area.
Hmm.
See, I mean, you need to grasp this concept that why we are not able to access why we are not able to access instance context area from static area. The reason is by that time object is not created and the memory is not provided. So how can
Hmm.
we execute the things, right? Please remember that thing because this is very basic item. On second class we have completed that. So static area we can access from everywhere. So this can be used from anywhere. There are only two context area in Java, instance and
Hmm.
static. So it
Hmm.
can be static, can be accessed from instance also, and it will be accessible from static also. So static make it easily accessible by only class name, right? I can
Hmm.
access this using ia.company name. Public will
Yes.
make sure that it can be accessed from every package.
Hmm.
Static will make sure that it can be accessed using the interface name because
Hmm.
its object is not going to be created, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
static context area associated with the class, right? And it is not class, so it will be associated with the interface, right? And final
Hmm.
keyword make sure that this value cannot be changed in future. So we have covered this in our previous classes as well, that this combination makes the variable constant.
Hmm.
So if someone will say to you that okay, please create a constant, so you are going to write public static final, and that thing you will write only in a concrete or abstract class. You are not going to write this in a interface because interface will by default provide you this, right?
Yes.
So what we have seen about interface, the very first thing is we can declare variables in interface, but the variable can be only constant, right?
Hmm.
So and the other thing is we cannot, the constructors are not allowed, blocks are not allowed. So the
Hmm.
only way to create a variable in Java that would be constant, but to initialize it, there is no other way but to directly initialize it, right? Because we
Hmm.
cannot initialize the final. We need to initialize the final keyword before using. The alternative is just to provide the constructor, right?
Hmm.
And by using constructor, we can dynamically provide the data. But in
Hmm.
interface, that's not the case, so we need to directly initialize it. So in interface, we can use variable, but the variable will be constant. That is, public static final will be provided by default, and we need to initialize it upfront because interfaces don't have the constructors. That would be the first thing. And the second thing would be we can use the other class element, that would be the methods. But methods also has a constraint because by default all the methods in interface are public and abstract, right?
Hmm.
So
Yes, sir.
what's the other catches we will see now? So post Java 8, earlier we can only use this method, right? Now these are
Yes.
the important questions, right? And mostly the interview ones. So
Hmm.
first thing, can we in Java before Java version 8 also can we write static methods in constructor in interfaces? See public void m2 if I'll do, right? Or public
Hmm.
void static method. if I'll do, then what will happen? It's going to throw an error, right? Why? Because public I have written again, right?
Hmm.
And by default it has provided abstract over here, right?
Hmm.
So if your method is abstract, then you cannot provide this, right? Body.
Yes.
But
Yes, sir.
if I provide a static, will static work or will it give an error?
If you give static where public static void static method, you're
Yes.
telling.
Will it work or it will give an error?
No, it will throw an error only.
No, it will work. The thing is, static methods are not meant to be overridden. One
Hmm.
interview question that we have left: can we override a static method? The answer is no. Oh no, we have covered that. Sorry, we have covered it. I just remembered. So, can we override a static method? The answer is no. The reason is because static methods are not associated with an object, right?
Hmm.
They are associated with a class.
Classes.
So, we override the method when we see that okay, our parent class has that particular thing or not, right?
Hmm.
And overriding is a concept of objects, right? If my
Hmm.
parent
Yes.
object has something or this has something, but static methods are associated with the class, hence it cannot be overridden.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
So the thing is, if this thing is not meant to be override, and this thing abstract keywords is something that it's meant to be overridden, right?
Hmm.
Because we have not provided the body. So, and another thing that static provides the body implementation at the class load time, right?
Hmm.
So it is not compatible with the requirement of the abstract method. Abstract method will require someone to override it, right? So
Hmm.
even before Java 1.7, where only before Java 8, only when only abstract methods are allowed in the interface, then two static methods were allowed.
Hmm.
Cool, because static methods are not associated with the class. It is associated with the it's not associated with the object. It's associated with the
Classes.
classes. Okay, so this is the another thing we can have the static method over here, right? So IA static method. See, this is most important item. You need to get it because after this we are going to do the design pattern, static design pattern. So for this you need to go through this again and again, and you should inculcate these concepts, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so now we know that we can write the static methods, right? And to access that static method, let's look interface. So let's write the runner. Okay, so psvm, and if I do the ia dot and see static method, I can access, and also I can access the company name directly using the IA, right?
Hmm.
And this company name cannot be changed in the future
Yes, sir.
because it has become a constant.
Hmm.
So see, even without instantiating, I am able to create it, access the objects.
Hmm.
Okay, just give me 1 second. And now let's move again into this. So now you have already heard me saying that concrete methods are allowed in Java now, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But we have also seen that if I try to write public void m2, right, then it is not allowed because abstract, because by default abstract will be there, right? And then abstract methods cannot have a body, right? So same
Yes.
error we will find here. Interface
Hmm.
abstract method cannot have a body, right? Because there is no abstract method. But why
Hmm.
this error is coming? Because by default, if we don't even write this also, then also we will get the same
Hmm.
error, because by default public and abstract are added by the compiler. So
Yes.
what can we do regarding this? So what we can do is, but it is allowed also to write the concrete methods. It is allowed as well, right?
Hmm.
But why it is allowed and how we can make sure that it is allowed is that we write default over here, right?
Hmm.
In access modifier also, see isme over here default I have said with methods, yes, with interface, right?
Hmm.
Or without keyword with class. With class we don't need to write default, default access modifier. Because the thing is, for them, if you don't write anything, then it will be by default. But with interfaces, the default version will be public and abstract, right?
Hmm.
So that's why default keyword is only allowed in the interface. Now this is the default. So in abstract methods, in interfaces, where is interface nodes? Okay, nodes over here. So let's pull out the nodes. Okay, where is nodes? Okay, over here. So let's pull out it to the, okay, yes, now it's fine. So inside nodes, we have seen the abstract can be used with the class level and method level. We have seen that interface have defaults. Interface have default values. For methods it's public abstract, and for variables public static final, right? And the other thing, interface methods, right? Now we need to know few things. First, default we know, default methods will be public and abstract, right? Abstract, one thing. Second thing, okay, wait, right, let's, okay, default, okay, and then default access modifier methods are allowed, right? But it is allowed from Java 8. If you try to write it on Java 7, it won't work, right? It will give an error, right? Then the other thing is private methods are also allowed. Again, post Java 8, and then static methods are allowed because it is related to class or interface and not with
Objects.
And we can write another thing as also, that other thing with the static methods are that the static methods cannot be overridden, right? Another thing, static methods cannot be overridden. Cool. Okay. Alright. It is showing me that my English is not good. Nice. Powered by language too. Because. Alright. Now we have seen that, okay, we have written the notes, then write it also, right? So default, let's just put it and write that default, okay, IA default, okay, let's change them to default method, and the same thing with private void private method and sysout IA private method. See, now the thing is, we can access a static method, right, directly, right? But we cannot access the private method outside this class, right? So we can use these methods, private methods, if we want some task to be done inside that method. This is provided just to make our methods modular, or the like we are trying to provide defaults over here, right?
Yes.
So default method will have some implementation, right? And what if the implementation is big? So we want to make sure that their implementation can be smaller ones, and we don't want to show it, so we can also make them private. We don't want someone to override those methods, so that's why private is also provided over here. Cool. So defaults are allowed, privates are allowed, and now but the thing is, default won't be visible outside the package, right? If you try to access this default package outside this IA basic package, then it won't be visible, right? And this thing you cannot access directly, right? So these two things cannot be accessed if you are trying to give your jar, right? If we do, when we compile all the classes and combine it, the bundle is called jar. So
Yes.
if you give someone your jar, then they won't be able to access your default methods nor your private methods, right? Because private method won't be visible outside the class, and default method won't be visible outside the package.
Yes.
Cool. So
Yes.
only the static ones and the abstract ones. Abstract ones won't have a body, so you need to overwrite it, and the static ones will be accessible for everyone. Cool. So this is our interface that we have seen right now. So these are, and one thing is why we have interfaces, right? There are some things with interface that is different. And what's that? Why we require interface? Cause of inheritance. Cause we don't have inheritance in Java. So this was the basic, right? Let's create
Hmm.
another package and interface concept, inheritance, and now we will see in Java. This is IA, right? Let's
Hmm.
suppose IA has a method public. Okay, I don't need to write abstract, right? I can do this thing. Oh shit, it's a class. Let me change it. Interface, right? Now I can have void m1 and void m2, right? Two methods I have, right, over here. And let's say IB.
Hmm.
IB. Cool. See, let's have this method over here. Now you won't get confused, right? How can I write this thing? Because public abstract are by default written, right?
Hmm.
That's why I can write in this way.
Yes.
Let me write it public abstract abstract provided by compiler. Cool. So in IB, okay, I will say class sheet interface IB. Cool. And over let's write void m2, right? Cool. And now let's
Yes.
see IC. So multiple inheritance was not allowed in Java, right?
Hmm.
But with classes, with interfaces, it is allowed. Okay, IC extends. Okay, interface. My bad. Interface, right? With interfaces are provided by Java just to compensate its its.
Ah.
I mean, okay, Java don't provide multiple inheritance, right? So just
Yes,
to
sir.
compensate that, it has provided the interface. Like if you have some case where you need multiple inheritance, then you can use the interfaces. But to
Hmm.
use the interface, you need to know the constraint that interfaces that comes along with the interfaces, right?
Hmm.
So that things happens. Now you know that if IC extends IA and IB, then it
Hmm.
can inherit both things. And what was the issue with the concrete class? The issue with the concrete class was that if I have both these classes, right, IA
Hmm.
and IB, then there was, if both has the same classes, then which during the overriding,
Hmm.
which method I should choose, right? If both
Hmm.
has a m1 method, right?
Yes.
IC don't have
Hmm.
m1, so which one I'll choose if I both have m1 method, right? Now you
Hmm.
can have one question, right? Okay, cool, but you just mentioned that these can also have m3. See, these can also have some default, right? Default
Hmm.
implementations, right? So this can be okay, this is out, and it can be IA and hyphen m3, and same thing we will go and copy paste, and we'll put inside the this, and we'll do the IB, right?
Hmm.
So what will happen now? See, now it will say that now if multiple persons has provided the implementation body.
Hmm.
Let me just create a runner as well, runner, just to make sure show you the error that it will going to you're going to see. So PSVM, and nothing I'm doing, I'm just running it just to show you the error. So what it's showing right now, okay, I mean it is very large, but it's saying that interface IC
Hmm.
inherits unrelated defaults M3, right, from
Hmm.
interface A and interface B, right? If I just copy paste this line and just remove the package name. Okay, cool, till here, right? Okay, my bad. replace it with nothing. Cool. See,
Hmm.
now it will be more readable, right? That this is the error. Interface IC inherit unrelated defaults for M3 from types interface A and interface B, right?
Yes.
So, and then it's not saying anything else, right?
Hmm.
This is the things. It's saying that IA and B types IA and IB are incompatible, so we cannot inherit both things. Then it will provide us an suggestion. Then what you want to do with these data, right? So it's saying
Yes.
you go and you try to override the methods because it has the methods, right? So it will provide an error. So what I can do, if I will go inside this, I mean the thing is it haven't resolved this issue. Like one might say that okay, IA will use because IA is the first one, right? But that's not the case. But if you provide that particular methods implementation over here, then you are free, right? Now there is no error, right? Now I can run it.
Hmm.
So multiple inheritance are allowed, but in the case of collision between multiple methods, what will happen? You need to provide the implementation of any one of these, right?
Yes.
And even and one thing with it is that if you want to, I mean, we can do it's void type, right? It's not static, so we cannot do this thing, right? And we cannot instantiate the value as well, right?
Yes.
So and we cannot super dot if m3 also not eligible, right?
Hmm.
So what we can do, we need to provide the implementation only, right?
Yes.
So if some issue comes, then it's not like that in normal concrete methods or in a concrete classes. What we can do, we can just go and we can write the super, right? Super
Hmm.
keyword. That's what we were doing, right? Super and that m3.
Hmm.
It says also m3, then super dot m3 we do. But super keyword won't work over here. People
Yes.
try to think in this way that okay, in concrete classes we have done super dot m3. But again, the thing is this only. Now, if we super dot m3 it was able to deduct on its own, then he will not force you to override the particular methods. So you
Hmm.
are forced to provide the implementation of the method that has a collision, right? In both.
Hmm. Hmm.
Cool. So 7% battery, and that's it. We have covered almost everything. So in notes, one thing we need to add only interface methods, and then interface inheritance, and in this multiple inheritance is allowed in Java. Cool. The other
Yes.
things, if IA
Akka.
IB has M3 method abstract M3 method, and IC extends it, then IC needs to execute the concrete body of M3 method, right? Need to override, and override will take care of it. Override M3. Nice. So this thing is important, and another thing that is required with interface, it is based on inheritance only. So this thing is when there is same data types, right? Extends keyword, there is two keyword we have seen, right? First keyword we have seen extends, right? So
Yes.
extends keyword is used when both data type in inheritance are same.
Hmm.
It means that if both are classes, right? So public
Yes.
class A extends B, right? So over here, A and B both are should be the class, right? And then public interface, if interface is doing also extends IA extends IB, right? Because the data types are same. I represent interface, right? We have seen this in this class only. So this IA and IB, are important stuff. So data types are same interface, so we are using extends, right? But if one is class, extends, and both are same, and implements when data type are different. What it means that if I have a public class A, right, and I want to make its parent, but I want to make parent IB, right? So the data types are different now. So I will use implement for inheritance. Implements. Cool. So when data types are same, we use extends. When data types are different, we use implements, right?
Yes.
And there is only one way we cannot inherit a class from interface, right? We only interface when only inherit interface, because other way around is not possible, because there will be public methods in a concrete class also, right? So if I try to extend it, then I will get constructors, blocks, and those things are not allowed in interface, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
interface cannot inherit classes, but classes can inherit interfaces, right? Now you know the reasons as well, because constructors are not allowed, normal variables, instance variables are not allowed and the public methods, public concrete methods are not allowed in interface, right? So that's the reason, that's other things. So let's end our session today. Let me stop the recording and upload it.